Now at 5, the trucker accused in a deadly DWI crash in New Jersey facing a judge. And the most shocking details to come out today is that he has been arrested 55 times. The big question, how did he still have a license to operate the tractor trailer? New Jersey reporter Anthony Johnson is on this story for us tonight. He's live in Elizabeth. Anthony?
Yeah, we did get an opportunity this afternoon to reach out to the trucking company that trucker works for, but at this point in time, we still have not gotten a response. We're standing near the scene of the accident. You can see on the utility pole, there is a photograph of the victim, several candles. They're unlit at this hour at the base of the utility pole. This is where a memorial took place. We did find out today that the trucker has been arrested, as you said, many times, and some of those crimes were very violent. Danny Clyde Williams is still recovering from injuries suffered when he took authorities on a long chase that ended with a deadly crash this weekend. He was in court today wearing a neck brace with numerous facial scars, facing charges of aggravated manslaughter, death by auto, and aggravated assault. In court, we found out Williams has a long criminal record.
He has over 54 arrests, many of which involve drugs or alcohol, over 8 felony convictions, and the most recent of those felony convictions, Judge, was from 2012.
Williams, who currently lives in Colorado, is accused of driving his truck at a speed topping 60 miles per hour through the streets of Elizabeth, ramming into vehicles, veering to elude police, and slamming into a car carrying Jeffrey Oakley and 2 friends. Oakley, just 24 years old, died on the spot. His 2 friends were seriously injured. One of those friends attended a vigil for Oakley last night.
Feeling hurt. I want to bring him back, and I want him to get better. I'm spending time with my son and going through therapy and going to visit Rodney so he can get better.
Oakley was an aspiring rap artist and also trying to launch his own clothing line. He leaves behind his mother and brothers, along with friends and family shocked to hear the trucker allegedly responsible for the tragedy had a long criminal history dating back to his days in California.
And like, how did he even, be on the road in the first place? You know what I mean? Like, that's evil. You know what I mean? That's not something that just was an accident.
Williams' court-appointed attorney entered a not guilty plea on the charges, but the judge determined that Williams is a flight risk and should remain behind bars. And at this point in time, Williams is being held on $2 million bail. The funeral for Jeffrey Oakley is now scheduled to take place this Friday morning in East Orange. That is the latest live from Elizabeth. Anthony Johnson, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Anthony, thank you. We've just learned an arrest has been made in an attempted rape in East Harlem. Police say 22-year-old Justin Ramirez was caught on surveillance video following a woman into her building on East 102nd Street on Monday. They say he tried to rape her on the stairs, but when she fought back, he ran away.
Bridgeport police arrested a former substitute teacher that they say sexually assaulted a student. Robert Sega Johnson faces charges tonight. Investigators say Johnson assaulted a 17-year-old male student inside a classroom at Harding High School back in March. Johnson has been a long-term substitute teacher at the school. Now to an Eyewitness News investigators exclusive. Just how tight is security at New York City airports weeks after the bombings in Istanbul? We decided to check to see if there is armed security at checkpoints at JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark airports. And the results were surprising. Earlier, the investigators' Jim Hoffer did a report on Facebook Live. He's here now with more on what he uncovered. Jim?
Well, last month, terrorists killed 42 people at the airport in Istanbul. An attack in March at Brussels airport killed 32. It's clear ISIS has airports in their crosshairs. So we spent several days looking at security at JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark. Specifically, security where the crowds are, the screening checkpoints. Our first stop was at Newark Liberty's massive Terminal C, where during our 60-minute visit, we never saw a single armed police officer near the terminal's 3 checkpoints, nor any National Guard. We saw crowded checkpoints, plenty of uniformed TSA screeners, but they're unarmed. From downstairs at the crowded baggage pickup to the long security lines upstairs, we never saw an armed officer patrolling the terminal's front end. We observed the same lack of security at Newark's Terminal A. Compare that to the heavily armed and visible security we found at New York City's Grand Central and Penn stations. The difference is stunning. The lack of armed security at Newark's front door just 1 week after the deadly airport terrorist attack in Turkey
caught us off guard. It worries the Port Authority Police Union, too.
The staffing has returned to what it was prior to the attack in Turkey.
The only requirement for security at New York's 3 major airports is that an armed law enforcement officer must respond to a passenger checkpoint in 5 minutes.
5 minutes is an eternity. And again, if those officers are tied up, it may be 5 minutes plus.
That 5-minute response time seemed to be strained at LaGuardia, too, where we looked at 8 screening checkpoints and found armed police or National Guard at only 3. The other 5 checkpoints had no armed security. At JFK, security was more visible, but still uneven. There was 1 armed Port Authority police officer near the checkpoint at the JetBlue terminal, plus National Guard soldiers. At Terminal 1, there were National Guard as well, but no Port Authority police.
In 5 minutes, how many people can be dead?
New York Congressman Elliot Engel says the current 5-minute response requirement is unacceptable because it gives the terrorist, he says, a running start. He's proposing that the 30 largest airports be required to have an armed officer within 300 feet of every checkpoint.
Just the way you were scratching your head when you didn't see anybody at Newark Airport, this seems to be so logical that you'd wonder why it hadn't been implemented previously.
Now, the Port Authority says they've added high-visibility patrols equipped with tactical weapons at its 3 major airports ever since the Brussels and Turkey attacks. A spokesman says they've significantly increased the number of officers within each terminal and that they continue to partner with federal, state, and local law enforcement on counterterrorism efforts. Back to you, Diana.
Pretty amazing. Thank you, Jim. Dogs living in horrendous conditions, coming up over a dozen puppies rescued from a home on Long Island. We're going to tell you what else was found inside that home. Also, growing frustration over the Right to Know Act, a possible side deal for changes in the NYPD that some believe doesn't go far enough to combat police misconduct. And can sleeping a certain way give you wrinkles? What researchers discovered in a new study, is right.
Oh, boy, I move around so much. I'm meteorologist Lee Bilberry. Sun's starting to come out over lower Manhattan again, so just a chance of a sprinkle here. It's mostly south near Edison and Old Bridge at this point. Meanwhile, to the north and east, there's actually a lot of sunshine. We avoid storms today. We will get a few more later tonight and tomorrow. We also get a lot of heat. It's going to be steamy tomorrow. We'll tell you all about it in the 7-day AccuWeather forecast, and that's next on Eyewitness News at 5.